a Pantry Studio production.
The following may contain strong language and deals with adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I will be the last to fall. I won't shed a tear for them to see. I won't have your name to call, 'cause I will be the last to fall.
With over 24% of the 1.9 billion square acres in America alone, the mountains that so many people call home are also host to some of the most incredible mysteries in the world. The missing, the murdered, strange creatures, unexplained lights, and sightings of unidentified objects. These stories may be strange, they may be sad, they may be odd, but they are mysterious. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. And now, live from the Pantry Studio, broadcast to all time zones around the world, with listeners of the podcast in the United States, Canada, Germany, Norway, India, the United Kingdom, and more. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. Now, your host, Chris Sloan.
You know, I absolutely love my daughter. She is great. She was in the chat room a second ago and she said, "Hey, that's me." Yes, baby, that is you. You should know you were here when you did that. So, yeah, she said it won't let her comment as her. So she is on, I think, my Facebook page, my personal one, and commenting as the Mountain Mysteries. So if you see the Mountain Mysteries in there tonight, say hello to Cody, my daughter. Absolutely wonderful and very talented. So a big shout out to the folks that are listening this evening that's in the chat room and that's watching wherever you're from, wherever you are, whoever you are. Say hi to Tracy, to Sharon, and to everybody else that's listening. I've not seen you in the chat room yet. Ben and Steph Blankenship. All you guys, we really appreciate you tuning in. You know, I'm going to start this episode off a little bit differently, and then I'm going to make an announcement, which I should have made last week. Look at me, I'm a podcast. Leave it to my kid. Where she gets it from, I don't know. Anyways, we're going to start this one off a little bit differently because I want to talk a little bit for a moment and just give a special thanks to some people. Some people that have supported this thing for quite a while and through Patreon. And this is not a huge list, excuse me, but it's definitely one that's worth mentioning. Stacy Underwood Gullett, I've known her for a long, long time. All of these people believe in what the Mountain Mysteries does. Now, I'm not saying that it's exclusive to only them. You don't have to be a Patreon member to have me think that, or to have any of our team believe that, because every time you talk about these episodes, and I'll get to a real short story that's really cool in just a sec, but I've known her since I was like 8 or 9 years old, and she is very gifted. She is the lead researcher and founder of 606 Paranormal. She's just a great gal. Her husband's a great guy. Think the world of them both. I love them dearly. Yanni Burton has this little shop in Jackson, Kentucky called the Cozy Corner Restaurant. If you're ever through Jackson, or maybe you are watching near Jackson right now or in Jackson, they deliver within that city limit range, I think, which is it's great. It's called the Cozy Corner. And it's absolutely awesome. Check them out, please. Sharon Barron, April's mother. Her daughter is the reason this whole thing exists, period. April Renee Pennington. That is why this thing is here. The Mountain Mysteries exists because of her. April. Excuse me. It's sinuses. It's fall. It's sinus season. Katina, Hyla Brock, Aslan Brock, Sully Brock, Eric Brock. Wonderful people. Katina is a very dear friend of mine. She's like a sister to me. She keeps my moral compass. Her and Dottie Pelfrey keep my moral compass pointed north. As true north as I can find, anyways. And their family. I love them. Jessica Preston. Jess is a friend of the Mountain Mysteries and of myself. She has been for a while. Love her and her family dearly. Trevor Huff, this man's been like a brother to me for more years than I'd say 25, 30 years. And he does a lot of the music for the Mountain Mysteries, one of the most talented musicians I've ever heard. If you ever get a chance to see him perform live, and he does from time to time, check him out. Also, if you're planning a wedding or anything of that nature, I'll get to that comment in a minute, or anything of that nature, Trevor Huff has this mobile entertainment business, and it is professional in every sense of the word. I mean, he puts the pro in professional. We're talking big screen projection, lights, a sound system that would fill a stadium, let alone what it does in a venue, a smaller venue. It will shake the rafters, and he is great with it too. Amanda Henry Blevins. I have never had the opportunity to meet these folks, but I appreciate their support more than you know. We have people that I have never met that support this podcast by listening, watching. Some do Patreon, some do one-time donations, and they say, hey, I'd rather remain anonymous, but if you don't care, take this, put it towards the expenses of what it is you're doing because we believe in it. Bobby Fairchild. I've known Bobby for a long time too. He's a really good friend of mine. He is a small independent business owner, Wired Electrical, a great guy, HVAC, plumbing. We use him at a place that I work at, and he does a fabulous job. I can't believe I used the word fabulous. Christina Mills, wonderful person who believes in what we're doing enough to support us. James Maggard, same with him. Mildred Terry Lovelace. Let's see, how can I say this? Mildred, she is one of a kind. She knows what loss firsthand is. That is the grandma of James Dwayne Lovelace. Episode 7, The Lake of Tears, you might remember that one. That is Dwayne's mama. That's his grandmother. Wonderful person. We have Sherry Henson, who, again, believes in what we do enough to be a Patreon supporter. Josh Preston. Josh is an old country boy, great guy, and he supports the Mountain Mysteries. It interests him, which I get. He said he loves the way the podcasts are put together. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We've gotten that from several folks, and every time I hear that, it makes me want to be a little better each day because I'm not perfect. Lord knows I'm still learning. Every time I sit down behind a microphone or behind a set of handlebars on a motorcycle, I think that if we don't learn something every day, then what's the point? So thanks, Josh. Amanda Blevins, a huge supporter. She not only supports us on Patreon, she shares on social media. She talks to people about this. You got to hear this thing. You got to listen to this thing. And word has gotten out, and we have gotten listeners all over the place, and no small part thanks to her and our other Patreon subscribers. Marie Lovelace, Dwayne's stepmom. These people are one in a million. You don't just find folks like this every day that are so open and honest and tell you their feelings. They bear all. Go back, listen to episode 7, A Lake of Tears. I'm pretty sure it was episode 7, A Lake of Tears, the Mountain Mystery of James Dwayne Lovelace. You will hear the truth. You will hear raw emotion. It will make you tear up at some point if you've got a heart, I'm pretty sure. Most of us do. My cardiologist said I had one. Mackenzie Banks, thank you so much. And sorry, I almost coughed right in the middle of that. Like I said, allergies. Brad Hampton. Brad is, like so many of us, he's a good guy trying to raise a family and to say hard, difficult times. That's putting it mildly. But he's doing a great job at it. So I thank Brad and his family for supporting the Mountain Mysteries. And his dad actually told me one, he said, every time you drop an episode, he's got to be one of the first ones to listen to it and goes back and binges on them. That's what they're for. And I appreciate that. Not that it's an ego or a feather in my cap. This ain't about me. Every time he goes back and listens to the tragedy at Paintsville Lake, he hears that name. He knows that name. He's getting to know these people. April Pennington, Meryl Baldridge, Dwayne Lovelace, and all of these other people. We also have a brand new Patreon member, and I want to welcome her, Samantha Sloan, that I know of, no relation. But Samantha joined our Patreon, and that tells me that when people do that, that they are believing in what we're doing, which what we're doing is getting the names of the people out there, talking about them, because they can't tell you about their case. They can't tell you what happened. Either they're missing, which is like Dante's seventh level of hell for the people that love them, because they don't know where they're at, what they're doing, if they're even here, or if they have been murdered, like several that we have had on the podcast so far. Then they have no voice. Their families are grieving, and we speak for them. That's what we do. I actually had another podcast host, the Mountain Mysteries, our team, with I as the representative, have gone to other podcasts to be interviewed by those at their request. And these are some of the people that you will find on the Mountain Mysteries website page, the mountainmysteriesPodcast.com. Seth's Daily Podcast, The Spooky Family, Here to Chew Bubblegum, among others, because they want to know, how do you do what you do? What is it that you're doing that's unique and different? We're getting ready to get into that here in just a minute. So to our Patreon members, I love you and I thank you and I salute you. Thank you very much for that. Now, the story I was going to tell you about, a friend of mine came to me. I'm sorry, I'm looking over some of the comments. A friend of mine came to me, and he works at a pretty prominent college in Kentucky. And he just told me this last night. He said, he said, I walked in the other day to get a few things, and I said hi to this person. Hey, how you doing? And she stopped and she looks at him. She said, you're that voice. You're the voice on this thing, aren't you? Well, he knew that he had done a voiceover for me on the Mountain Mysteries, and I believe it was episode 3, The Mothman of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And sure enough, he did. He was a part of one of the witnesses. I couldn't get the actual witness, so he did the voiceover for the witness. He said, people are listening in places that you wouldn't imagine, and this thing just keeps getting bigger. It keeps growing. That means that these names, the names of April and Dwayne and Mamie and Muriel, and they're getting out there, and now we add another one to that list. Summer Utah Moon Wells. That's going to be episode number 30. Drops tonight, midnight. We're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. But also our Patreon members, I want to salute, because if you hear what you like, and it's going to be different than what you hear on the podcast, on October 7th, we launch the Mountain Mysteries Chills. The Chills are a collection of short horror stories based in some kind of fact somewhere, like most legends or wives' tales or urban legends, whatever you want to call them, like they are. The first one is done. I finished it right before we went live tonight. Well, almost finished it. It's still got a little tweaking and a little stuff here I want to do to it. But they are all brought to you by our Patreon subscribers at no additional charge to the Patreon folks. But this was a way for us. Excuse me, my drink. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I am in the fall spirit, as you can see. It's a pumpkin cup. So anyways, but this was a way for Patreon to say, hey, guys, check this out. Listen to this podcast. They will be airing on the same place where you listen to the podcast right now, be it Spotify, Apple, wherever podcasts are found. They will be airing on Thursdays, right at the same day that we do these. Patreon members will get them on Mondays. So, Patreon members, you're going to have for the month of October only, Chills on Mondays, then the episode Tuesdays, and other folks that's not Patreon subscribers yet will be able to listen to it on Thursdays and Fridays. The chills will only last for 4 weeks. That's the month of October. And that's our way of saying thank you. And these are not the stories that we concentrate on. They're not necessarily about the people, but they're just some ghost stories, some urban legends that are really freaky. And we can thank also Arrow Wilson for that, who is my tech advisor slash researcher slash co-writer slash son-in-law. And he does a great job. And my daughter does a great job with the website, and she's designed so much stuff. And that website was custom made, and she did a great job at it and had it up in like 3 or 4 hours. Damnedest thing I've ever seen, to be honest with you. So, with all that being said, we talk a little bit now about Summer Moon, Utah, or Summer Utah Moon Wells. A beautiful little girl. Okay, well, that's probably mid-move somewhere. Let me get to something here right there. And let me throw this up here. And right up here in the corner, you see it. It's right up here. I'm sorry. There. Where camera shows everything backwards to what I see. But you see her right up there in the corner. Cute as a button, isn't she? 5 years old, Tennessee. Went missing. This is the stink of it all. Went missing from inside of her own home. I'm going to leave that up there for the duration. You guys know what you're checking out. You know this is the gatherings. That little girl is 5 years old. And on the podcast, you are going to hear an interview conducted with her mom and dad. A lot of people think they had something to do with it. I don't know if they did or did not. I have my opinions. I'll keep them to myself and let you form your own. But it's really strange. She was out, and this was on June 15th of this year. She was out helping her mom, doing gardening and stuff like that, being a kid, playing like little kids do. And went inside. Her mom took her inside, maybe lunchtime, whatever. And she had other family in there. Said, hey, keep an eye on Summer. Anyways, goes back in a bit later where Summer is. She's downstairs playing with her toys. No, she wasn't. Nobody has seen or heard from her since. So we're talking going, what is this? You might as well say it's October. It's close enough, September 30th. Nobody has seen or heard from this child since. Now, the obvious question, and by the way, I've got to put this out there. Somebody had accused her dad of selling her for drugs. He went off the deep end. Well, I don't blame you. I would have too. There's been all kinds of accusations in this case, and this is where we run into problems. When everybody is slinging hash and making accusations about this thing, that thing, and the other, that disrupts an investigation. And it does it in the way that you would think that it can do it. Because when they start throwing this stuff, they don't just throw it out there in public, they also throw it to law enforcement. Any cop will tell you every lead has got to be followed up. I get that. Let me get back over here because I'm trying to keep an eye on 3 or 4 things at once. Focus on finding the kid. Let's focus on who said what, don't focus on who said what, who did what. Let the investigators do that as a part of their job. And the public, if you want to help, quit throwing out accusations and start throwing out effort. Now, law enforcement did cut off some effort from volunteers because in the particular place they were looking, it's as dangerous as a cocked cannon. People get lost, people get dead, people get hurt. That's when a search operation turns into a rescue operation. I get that. I get why they said no. We have people who are experienced working in this kind of terrain doing this kind of thing. Pretty close to Kingsport, Tennessee, if I understood correctly. So we offer up our prayers and our thoughts for people to find, for somebody to find Summer and bring her home, I hope. But the truth of the matter is, the longer this goes on and the longer she's not found, not good. Investigators will tell you that in the first 48 hours, that's the most critical. Within finding somebody or, solving a homicide. And this has been well over June 15th was, wow, June, July, August, September. It's almost 4 months, might as well say, real close to it. Not a good thing. So, also, it came out that her dad had domestic violence charges against him. Now, look, he's not the only one that people are pointing at in this thing. They're also some people are pointing at her mom too. The goal of this is not to point fingers at anyone. It's to educate, let you know the full story. The podcast does just that. I don't know who took her. I pray to God she's found alive and safe. But the bickering crap and the rumor the rumor mill, my God, in a small town, if you don't know what you're doing, somebody else does. I said that in episode 1. I still believe it. I've believed it all my life. I have apparently been in prison several times. I have done all kinds of things that I didn't even know I'd done, apparently. And apparently I've won awards that I never knew I won. Funny how I turned my life around from a hardened criminal to that. What the hell? But people talk. And I've always thought that, well, if they're talking about me, they're leaving somebody else alone. That's fine. I don't care. Water off a duck's back. My daddy, rest his soul, said, son, it's none of your business what anybody else thinks about you. Just live your life. Best way to shut them up is to do something that nobody else is doing and do it successfully. Do it well. How do you know if you're successful? He said, you'll know. Because when you put your heart, passion, and love into it, you will succeed. Just keep going. So this is one of those things. Here we are. We keep going. But we keep going because of the people out there. I've had nightmares about some of this shit. I've had phone calls, threatening phone calls. Drop it. Leave it alone. My exact response to that was go to hell. I don't quit because these people can't go on for themselves. Somebody's got to. And I am not a cop. I have no intentions on ever being one. Hell, at this age, I'm lucky to draw a paycheck. So I let alone do what I've seen some of these cops do. I mean, physical fitness, yeah, that's kind of top on their list. They have to be. They got to be on their game. But they speak for them as well. But when nothing else is getting done, when it's been so long since anything's been done, when you can't get a return phone call or an email, well, give me a minute. I will return your call. I will return your email as soon as I see it. And that's why I also have my daughter that scans our email banks and checks those things out. Because let's face it, she's younger than I am. She is much more in tune with social media and technology. That's why she is our social media director and things of that nature. She knows this stuff. So she alerts me when somebody says, hey, I've got a friend, family member, whatever. Is there any way that you could look into this? Yes. So Allie or Cody is the first one to get those things. And she comes to me. That's how all of this stuff works. But we do it because they can't. And by they, I mean the Aprils of the world, the Dwaynes of the world, the Mamies of the world, the Muriels or Merrills. These people can't. And right now, who's speaking for Summer? Who's trying to get the word out there about her? Well, of course, her family, her mom and dad. They've been on multiple interviews. I've seen that. They've not shied away from answering questions. And they've not shied away, as far as I know, they've not shied away from much of any kind of question. That's a good thing. They are also begging for their daughter back. That's also a good thing. Have we seen this before? Yes. Did it turn out badly? Very. Will this one? I hope not. I hope it turns out really good. I hope somebody finds this child and brings this 5-year-old little girl back home. Beautiful little thing. Smile. And loved movies, everything from Frozen to Godzilla. That's a wide range, but this is her personality. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. So again, I mentioned you got somebody you love in your life, a child, hug them, keep them tight, keep them safe, especially with everything that's going on right now. And ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to get better anytime soon. It will get better when Christ comes back. Oh, it'll get a lot better then. And that's going to be interesting. But until that day, we are charged with doing the best we can to keep the ones that we love safe. And if we can help somebody else in the long term, or even in the short term, by being kind to somebody, nothing wrong with that either. That's a good thing. We can do that, right? Thought so. Yes, we can. So as we go back in and we take a look, some of the other things, let's see. What was it I was going to say? I had this thing that I wanted to mention. Oh, yes, that was it. Next week's episode is going to be number 31. It's called Nightmare. We actually take a look back on Elizabeth Ann Smart. Now, that is a week from today, which is going to make it on October the 10th. But remember, on the 7th, we are dropping the first episode of The Chills, or it's just called Chills. But that's going to be great. It's not a Patreon thing. It's available to everybody. Patreon just gets it a little earlier, which is really the only benefit that I could think of that they'd want. I have found that very few people are interested in how we manufacture or make this podcast unless they are podcasters or unless they are something to do with audio and video production. Most people don't care. They just want to hear something. They want to hear something that's worth listening to. True crime does evoke curiosity in people, let alone what the paranormal does. And it's coined on Apple as saying where true crime meets the paranormal. That would be us. So we're getting out all over the place, and I'm certainly grateful for that. So I don't, I know that we've got listeners, and I keep up with our numbers at least a couple, 3 times a week, but we've got a lot of listeners in Tennessee. We've got a lot of listeners in Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, etc., in the Appalachians. If you know anything, get a hold of the authorities. And you know what? It can be the Kentucky State Police. They will put you in contact with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, who is leading this case. And for what they've had to work with, I think that they've done a remarkable job so far. These guys are focused on one thing, Summer Wells. That's who they're looking for. So hopefully maybe somebody has seen something somewhere. We can get the word out there and get them going with that. I also wanted to mention, this is all kind of off the cuff tonight. It's been I was going to say the week, but it's been the year from hell, hasn't it? As you know, on these episodes, we don't just talk about the episode coming up. A lot of times we'll talk about other things. I want to give respect, condolences, love, and support. Johnson County, Kentucky. No, let me restate that. This entire region lost a good man. We've lost good people. But the one I'm speaking specifically was Johnson Central High School football coach Jim Matney. He has also worked with wrestling too. This guy believed in kids. He loved them. He believed and he knew that the building block of the future was our kids. And he did things to keep them away from the bad stuff in life, like a lot of people get involved with. But he also knew that just because somebody started down a wrong road didn't mean that they could not recover. He just did what he could to keep them from going down that road. Well, we lost him. To the communities and the families, I'm so sorry. Yes, I did. And I'm about ready to again. shed tears over that. We're losing too many good people over this thing. People that shouldn't have been gone this soon. Way too many. You know, Jim, I only got to meet him once, maybe twice. But man, did he stand out. Super nice guy, polite, very courteous. And man, I mean, he was just yeah. He was the kind of guy you just wanted to be around. So, and I get why so many people loved him. Easy to see. And when I got word, I think it was Tuesday, that he had passed, I just put the phone down and just lost it. How many good people have we lost to this thing? Too many. One was too many. And then I saw something amazing happen. I started getting notifications that at Eastern Kentucky University, the University of Kentucky, Belfry High School, Prestonsburg High School, the Black Cats, all of these high schools, Boyd County, it goes on and on and on and on, started lighting up their fields at night. Not because there was a game, but because there was honor and respect. If this country could come together in that kind of unity and quit letting so-called leaders divide us, and these people couldn't lead a pack of wolves to fresh meat. If they would stop letting that division happen, God, what a wonderful place this would be. I don't believe in the shot. I won't get the shot. That's none of my business, and I have no bearing on that. My opinion is do what's best for yourself, what you feel is right. But please respect others. Maybe you don't want to get the shot. Does that mean that you should look down on somebody else because they think a little differently? Or maybe you want to get the shot. Should you look down on somebody else because they think a little differently? No. Maybe you don't want to wear a mask going into a store. At first, I'll be the one to admit it. At first, I thought it was hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo, bullcrap political stuff. Then people started dying. Now, were they dying from this alone? Don't know. But I can tell you right now, I know of people that were perfectly healthy before it that have died from it. 99.98% survival rate. Well, that was with the original strain, I suppose. I don't know about this Delta. I am not a doctor. I don't even work in the medical care industry. I do get to put a damn Band-Aid on. And my source to relieve stress involves either a Harley Davidson or a couple of shots. And I ain't talking about those. I'm talking about the... But sometimes, when you see these people far younger than I am, getting sick to the point of death and they're dying over it, well, that kind of shook me a little bit. See, I have a special needs brother, and I'm honored to have him, and he is my brother, and I love him, and I will be damned if I'm bringing this stuff into him, because if something happened, I couldn't live with it. So respect the rights of other people, especially if they're trying to do what they feel is best for them. What else can we ask for? I do, in my heart, believe that this thing is real. And I also do believe that there are people that would have us divided, because divided, it's much easier to conquer somebody, to make them adhere to the will of others. I am not one of those people. I think this country still has the ability to unite, to come back together, and to put a size 12 boot cocked sideways straight up somebody's candy ass and put them out of office if that's what it takes. I am saying that the American people should be united, not divided. I am saying that just because we have a difference of opinion doesn't mean we can't respect each other's opinion. I am saying that when it's all said and done, we're one race, the human race. We can make a difference. We can lay down the petty differences and focus on what's really important: our future, our kids, our lives, bettering our lives. For some people, that means making more money. For some people, that means starting a family, having a family, taking care of their family. Could mean a million different things for each individual in America. But the fact of the matter is, we're not getting nowhere as long as we're divided. I've always said that this is not a political podcast, and this is not. This is me simply begging. When I saw all these football stadiums around Kentucky and some in other places light up in honor of Jim Matney, I thought that is unity. That is people seeing what's important. That is incredible. It put chills on me. I mean, I'm talking about football stadiums all over the place. Flags dropped to half staff in his memory and honor. The first one I knew of to do it was Prestonsburg High School. I'm not saying they're the first, but the first ones, and all I could write was, that is nothing but pure, raw class. Way to go to every school, college, university, whatever, that has honored him that way. I just think you are incredible. A lot of these schools had rivalries with Johnson Central. Johnson Central is a flipping powerhouse football team. They got great players, great cheerleaders, great faculty, great staff, great kids. And you know what? So does Prestonsburg. So does Pike Central. So does EKU, UK. All of these schools have some of the best of the best. And they did something that was simply incredible. So my hat's off to them. I just can't thank them enough. So please, whatever you decide, the only, again, my father's wisdom. The only time you should look down on somebody else, son, is when you're giving them a hand up. It's amazing how much of his advice I actually live by now. We don't look down on anybody unless you're giving them a hand up. They may think differently than us, but they've got that right. And isn't that what our military fought for since 1776 on through today? How many good men and women have died for that right? That's why somebody can look at me and say, you know what, I don't like cops and I don't like the military. Well, I love our police force. I love our EMT responders, our first responders, and I love our military. I'm so grateful for all of these people. But does that mean I'm going to look at somebody that doesn't like them for whatever reason and say, well, you're a dumbass, you're stupid? No. They've got that right to think that. I'm curious as to why they would, but they've got that right. My dad fought for that right. A lot of dads and moms, sisters and brothers fought for that right. And above all else, I respect that. Arlington Cemetery is acres upon acres upon acres. I don't know how many thousands are laid to rest there, but each one of them are a reason why you're free, why I'm free, why I'm free to sit here and voice my opinion on some of the things that are going on that I don't agree with, like the division of people in such a great country. In some states, in some places in the world, there's no way that we could even talk about summer. We couldn't talk about April. We couldn't talk about Dwayne or anyone else. we'd have to get on there and probably read a script put in front of us by whoever. Not like that in America. Guess who writes the Mountain Mystery scripts? That would be Arrow and I. Guess who writes the gatherings? Not a soul. I just kind of go with this. It's like I said, the gatherings is a friend. We are friends talking, and something I would kind of like to do is put some of our friends on here with us. So that's coming, and I'm probably going to start that next week. I'm going to invite some other podcast folks that do different podcasts to talk about those on here. I loved it when Stacy was on here. That was awesome. She made a great co-host. Couldn't ask for no better. And I would love to have my child on here. When she gets on here, all I will have to do is push buttons. She's got that gift. And I'm not kidding. She may not know it yet, but I see it a mile away. She is, I don't want to use the word talkative because that almost seems vindictive, but she will keep your interest better than what I do. Maybe she should be hosting this thing and me be a co host or something. I don't know. I'm not above that. She is talented. I'm lucky to have her. But also some of the people that watch it, some of the people that listen to the podcast, if they'd be willing to come on. Now, here's the kicker. I don't have to have you on video, but I can have your voice. I can kill your video feed and still have your voice on here. That's not a problem at all. So you can email me if you'd like to do that or message me on Facebook and say, yeah, I'd like to come on there and maybe chat about a case or two and maybe one of your favorite cases or favorite episodes that we've done. I keep calling them cases. I'm sorry. But one of the favorite episodes that you've done, I'd love to have something like that. I'm really thinking that this one that you're going to see right up there could be one that gets your goat going, especially when you hear some of the interviews and you hear some of the other things that we bring to light and reveal. In the episode show notes, I think it was something along the lines where we were a bit wowed by this, and you'll see why. You will. I do believe that. So if you'd like to, shoot us that email, and we'd love to have you on. Keep in mind, I do like to keep it relatively family friendly. Every once in a while, I'll drop a word that maybe I shouldn't. I call them wordy dirds. Every once in a while, I'll drop a wordy dird. Maybe something I shouldn't say. But like the guy said at the beginning of this thing, you know, the Pantry Studios production, the following is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised, whatever. That's the disclaimer that the lawyer said. A lawyer buddy of mine said, yeah, you probably need to have something like that, especially knowing you. Anyway, I've taken up a bit of your time this evening. And as always, I appreciate everybody that watches and listens to this podcast. The chills are absolutely at no charge, thanks to our Patreon members. All of those folks that we mentioned at the beginning of this, you can thank them if you know them. If not, next time we're on, give them a shout out and a hi. Most of them watch this thing pretty faithfully, and they definitely listen to the episodes pretty faithfully. If you would like to be a Patreon supporter, you can find that link on our website, themountainmysteriespodcast.com. You can also get free, a little more access to the Discord server. I don't know exactly how that works, but my daughter sees that. She gets notified when somebody joins Patreon and she does something and they get in to more available rooms and stuff like that and chat. You get the early access to the episodes. And at the $5 tier and above, you get the blurs, which drop about every Sunday. I was asked, are you guys going to take a break from this? Yes, we are. We're going to take a small break around Thanksgiving and Christmas. We will have something airing, but it won't be as, something like you're used to. It'll probably be a replay or something different of an episode that we've aired before, maybe an update on something. Because to me, especially around Thanksgiving and Christmas, I miss the people I've lost even more. And I'm betting that Mildred and Marie and Herbie do. I'm betting that Sharon does. I'm betting Tim does. I'm betting everybody does. I'm betting Candy Gonzalez's family misses Candy even more. So does Crystal Branham Hall's and Kelly Holland Jr.'s family. I would assume these things. because I know I miss my mom and dad every day, but around Christmas and Thanksgiving, it gets more intense. It's a little bit more difficult to deal with, it seems. So we will continue on. We will take a slight break, like I said, but maybe go back and do some of these updated cases. Also addressing an email I got. I think it was Cheyenne 65. Anyways, asked about the case updated on April. She, what's new with this? What's new with this? Tell me what's new. Oh my God, I'm done. And I said, well, let's hope not. But I'm not releasing anything on that until I get confirmation on a couple of things. And we are going to do it. It's going to be called Shattered Dreams, because I want you to think about this for a minute. This is the way I look at it. Maybe you'll see it differently. But April has been gone for over 30 years, and she's still making a difference in more ways than just this podcast. This is but she's still making a difference. That's that pond and the rock in the pond and the ripple effect I was telling you about. You can choose to be a little pebble in a pond, a rock in a pond, but I hope that we turn into boulders in that pond. And it's for them. That's making a difference, I think. Halloween is right around the corner. And because of the COVID and the chances of people contracting COVID, we are not going to do something live as a Patreon event on October. I was going to say October 31st, but we're actually looking closer to maybe a day before, like October 30th, which is on a Saturday. I'm thinking about going live on here, if you guys would like, and reading a Halloween story for the kids, something like that. And it would not surprise me a bit if, things got a little dark and eerie in here. And I don't know what, maybe the Headless Horseman or something. I don't know. Something. But if you'd be interested in that, just shoot us a message and say, would love that. Keep your kids safe. Keep yourself safe. And remember, it's easy to be kind to each other. Very little. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful night and a wonderful weekend. May God bless you and keep you safe. I love y'all. And until next time, stay mysterious.
From one coast to the other, mysteries are everywhere, and we will continue to pursue the answers to those questions and more. Please share, like, and rate the Mountain Mysteries podcast, and tell your friends to tune in on Facebook or YouTube. The Mountain Mysteries gatherings are each Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to support the Mountain Mysteries, search and help these families, join us on Patreon, or you can make a one-time donation as well. The Mountain Mysteries and the Mountain Mysteries gatherings are property of the Pantry Studios and Chris Sloan, who writes and produces the content. If you would like to reach out to the Mountain Mysteries, please email us at pantrystudio@yahoo.com. Until next time, my friends, stay mysterious.
A Pantry Studio production.